And welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about top 10 mistakes in marriage. In no particular order, I'm going to be giving you top 10 mistakes that people do make in marriage. One of it is when you keep secrets. Secrets have been known to destroy homes, and sometimes we think that the secret has to be something very big. It doesn't have to be very big. Sometimes it can be something small, something as small as a woman hiding her money, or a man not, revealing his income, or something was supposed to happen and then you did not just tell your spouse, or you know about an information and you did not tell your spouse. It has been known to actually destroy homes. One of the mistakes you can make in marriage is to keep secret, whether it be big or small. It has a tendency of destroying trust or not allowing trust to even be built at all within a couple. Another mistake that can happen in marriage is when you take your spouse for granted. Now, a lot of couples take themselves for granted without even realizing it. You just at the time, the way you were when you were trying to woo a woman, or when you were trying to impress a man, when you were courting, you now become relaxed and you feel like, oh, after all, you're already married. You begin to change those things, or you not say necessarily change, but you just don't put in as much effort as you would have done when you were still, courting. Those things have been known to destroy homes because the husband feels, oh, she doesn't love me so much anymore. The woman feels, oh, she's not excited about me anymore. And then they feel like, oh, he's taking me for granted. I mean, if you valued me so much, you will listen to me, listen to my opinion, you will listen to how I feel. She will actually try to make an effort on how she looks and not just be, tying wrapper all around the house, and just because she feels like I'm already married to her. So whenever you take for granted each other, that is a big mistake in marriage. As a matter of fact, when you're married, you're meant to continue to do the things that you're meant to be doing. You're meant to continue to be dating your spouse, to continue to be impressing your spouse. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Another one is where you keep record of wrong. Oh my goodness. There are so many people who while they are married and they have issues, a spouse cannot just imagine themselves letting go of that particular issue. They will say, oh, I've forgiven, I've forgotten. But when there is something else just happens, they begin to recollect and recount all those things that is supposed to be past. In other words, you are keeping record of wrongs. That can never be healthy for a marriage. For a marriage to thrive and to be healthy, if you say you've forgiven, you have to let go. And if it's something that you're still trying to deal with, then that means you people have not actually gone past that issue. You are meant to discuss it. You're meant to talk through it and work through it, rather than putting down the carpet and then tomorrow you now begin to talk about something that the other spouse will begin to feel and say, but I thought we've gone past this. Meanwhile, it has not yet. It is still something that is actually an issue. Another thing can be when you take advice from the wrong people. Now, why I say take advice from the wrong people, because some people say, you shouldn't have your business outside at all. There are some marriages that cannot help but have someone outside, be part of their marriage, because they have not groomed themselves to be strong enough to make certain decisions on their own. Because the truth of the matter is that ideally, in an ideal situation, the business should be your business indoors. But if it is something that is, beyond you guys, and it's something that, you cannot handle it on your own. Yes, you might be able to reach out to someone for help, but it has to be a trusted party. It cannot just be anyone. As a matter of fact, it cannot just be a family member, because family members have been known to be biased. Because if they love their son or their daughter or their brother or their sister, so they'll be very biased when they're giving you advice, or friends as well. So if you're going to seek advice from outside, it has to be from the right place, from the right people, because you're a good family friend, a good family member, an excellent family member can actually give you wrong advice simply because there's going to be some level of bias because of how much they love their own. So it's be best that if you may, some people say, oh, they go to a pastor. If that works for you, you have to find out what really works for your family. Some people actually go to a professional, a counselor. So you have to actually find out exactly what works for your marriage. Else, you'll be doing your marriage a disservice if you get advice from anyone and everyone. Another one is when you're not working on your romance. Remember when I said that you're taking your spouse for granted? This actually goes like yin and yang, because romance is something that has to you have to keep working at. I mean, especially when you begin to have children. Children are all around the place. The fire doesn't spark anymore as it used to be. But you have to be deliberate, because if you're not deliberate about keeping the romance alive, you find out that you just become flatmates rather than being, love companions. You find yourself being, you just know that okay, you just know that you have a husband or you have a wife, but you guys are not connected with each other simply because you have not taken the time to deal with yourselves. You've allowed certain issues of life to consume you guys, and you did not work on your romance. And when I say work on your romance, working on your romance is not just about sex alone. It's about doing those little things that, like, instead of going out every time with the children, go out alone with just you and your spouse. Go on a date night, go on a movie night. Do things that you both of you can, keep the flame and the fire alive. Else you'll be causing your marriage a great disservice. Another one is when you put your children first instead of each other. Like I said, building your romance is when your other things in life becomes a forefront instead of a marriage. The same thing too. You find that there's some people that, especially for women who are guilty of this, you find them so consumed with that baby, with that child, with that, and then maybe their husband is even craving for attention. You feel like, so can't this man just see all I'm going through, all I'm dealing with? Hey, the man also needs, attention. He needs to know that he too is actually put first. Because guess what you don't realize is when those children are grown and we all want our children to prosper and to do well. When they are grown and they've, gotten married, they've gotten that job, they're out of your space, guess who is going to be left? It's going to be your spouse. It's going to be either you're going to be your husband or wife with you. So if you've not taken your time to make them priority, you find that it becomes a very difficult thing when many years to come. Also, when you're not really listening to each other, that can be a very, very big problem. Now, suppose say, he was talking, I was listening, or she was talking, I was listening, but your gesture says otherwise, or your interpretation of the circumstance shows otherwise, or certain things have now shown that you really are not listening to each other. Especially when the man is saying she does not listen to me, or the woman is saying he does not listen to me. That means you might think that you're listening, but there's something, or there are things that your spouse is saying you are not really listening. So you have to learn the art of listening to your spouse, and realizing that their voice needs to be heard. Even if it might be something that you think, oh, it's not such a big deal, but it's a big deal to them, you have to be willing to listen and to make healthy communication. Else, your marriage will be having issues. Another one is when you're not a part of each other's lives. There are so many people, today who, you're married and you don't know anything that is happening in the life of your spouse. For instance, so when we say They'll ask your ask you what does your husband do for a living? He says he's a businessman. Okay, what kind of business does he do? Ah, he does import and export. Okay, what does he what exactly does he bring in? You are lost, you are thinking. Because you are not part of his life. Now you might say, oh, he handles his business himself, but guess what? You are meant to be his business partner. And your husband too is also supposed to be your business partner. It goes both ways. If your own is to do, as a woman, your own is hairdressing, the man should have an idea, the location, the things, the challenges you're facing in your hairdressing salon or in your hairdressing business or in whatever business you're doing or whatever thing, whether you're a teacher or whether you are, a counselor or you are an artist. You should have an idea of what you're doing, the challenges you're facing. Both of you should know each other's, because guess what? We were married not to be alone, but we were married to be able to have companionship and supposed to be two against the world. You have to key into the advantages that you have from your husband and the advantages you have from your wife. It is so important. Another thing that can be a mistake in a marriage, in fact, is when you find your a spouse flirting with the opposite sex. There's some people that say, oh no, I'm not having an affair, I don't have an affair. But the way you relate with the opposite sex is very, very, very questionable. It makes your spouse feel uncomfortable. If you're a woman, for instance, when a guy is talking about something, maybe it's even his friend, you're laughing so much, and the man is looking, is my wife loose? Why is she so accommodating to the opposite sex? He doesn't understand it, and then it brings distrust. The same for the wife. The woman can say, the man can say, I'm not doing anything, they're just, my colleagues, they're just my friends, I mean, just saying, I just play with the play, it's just normal, it's just nothing, there's nothing to it. Meanwhile, your wife is feeling, why are you so friendly with Anita or friendly with Amaka? Why? If I were to be friendly with a man like that, you would not be happy about it. That tells us that you are probably overstepping your boundaries with the way you are actually dealing with the opposite sex. So it's not something that you wait until adultery or your pants has come down before you now realize that, oh, you have done something bad. Flirting is supposed to be a no-no, or taking the opposite sex to a level that is not held in marriage is supposed to be a no-no. Else, you're going to be causing issues of trust in your marriage. Another thing is when you avoid discussing through issues that are sensitive. Now, there's sometimes that because people are trying to avoid conflict, they just, so that we don't quarrel. They don't talk about that. They just, because you're trying to avoid, they say, did you talk to your husband about it? Say, no, I don't want to get him upset. Okay, now, it is very unhealthy in a marriage if you keep putting sensitive issues under the carpet, because it will leave one party feeling very sad, very unhappy, very unfulfilled, very undesired, or whatever it is that is as a result of not talking about that issue. So it's very important that while you're in marriage, you actually discuss certain issues. You might have to probably think about the kind of environment or the timing. You might want to consider the timing of the discussion, but you must make sure that if it's something that is a sensitive matter and it's something that bothers you guys, it must be discussed. No matter how irrelevant it seems to the next person, so long as it feels like it's something important to one of your spouse, one person, then it must be discussed. Now, this is like, the jar, because I know I've talked about 10 already. You must learn that not thanking each other as a couple is guaranteed to cause resentment in marriage, you must learn to be thankful. Even if the thing that your spouse is doing is their duty. Let's say your wife takes care of the children, is her duty. Learn to appreciate her. Learn to say, honey, thank you so much for being such a wonderful wife and wonderful mother. If as a woman, learn to be thankful to your husband. Tell him thank you so much for being a good provider, for being there, for being my rock, for being my strength. You know what it does? It makes them want to do more. It makes them want to go all out. It makes them want to, always protect this marriage that they have. So, I hope all of I've said blesses you. Until next time, do remain blessed. Have a great day. Bye. Please check out a copy of my ebook, Squeezing the Sweet Nectar of Your Marriage. It's loaded with case studies, things to examine your relationship with, short stories that are very relatable, that can help you understand topics better. And for those who are Bible believers, lots of Bible passages as well. It's for people who are seeking to improve their marriage, resolve conflict, and use for pre-marriage counseling. So above 150 pages, and I'm sure it would be worth your while. You can also follow me on my Instagram page at BettysNewBeginnings. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the very end of this video. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. You'll be helping someone, or you could also be improving your own relationship and marriage.